Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Just Thinking Aloud. I'm Irby, and I hope you guys have been having a good couple of weeks. I know I'm kind of late with this video, but I have been a bit busy with work and other family stuff. So yeah, I'm back now, and this week I just wanted to share my thoughts of what I've been thinking about with regards to my last video. Um, my last video, I said something. Well, it was about faith and what faith is, and the gist of it was that faith is, in a biblical sense, faith is at the most simplest and deepest at the same time is basically a trust in God, that our relationship with God is a relationship, and it's a relationship that, as any other relationship, is rooted and founded in trust. And the word faith itself, in the Greek and Hebrew, conveys that idea of trust, of trusting God and trusting who He is and trusting Him and taking Him at His word, especially in regards to His character and who He is. And but I wanted to focus on something that I said during that video, that I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I wanted to make a clarification because I think it may be misconstrued, or it's something that I think can be a little bit more nuanced and more, there may be more subtlety to it. So I wanted to touch on it. What I had said was something to the effect that you either trust God or you don't. I'm gonna go ahead and play that clip with a little wider context of what I said, and then I will get into what it was that I wanted to clarify. Um, and so, sometimes we hear this debate about, people say they believe in God, but they don't, they believe in Jesus, but they don't follow Him as Lord, and the reason why we have this debate is because the word believe, we're using that word in our modern context of what it means to believe. It means, believing means to agree to something intellectually in your mind. Like, I agree, that the world is I agree. I believe that the ground is hard, but we all know that we can believe something. We can believe that if you speed, you could get a ticket. If you speed, you could get in a wreck, and you could lose your life. And yet we still speed. You know what I'm saying? Like in our cars. I don't think faith faith does. There is an element of that, of faith, because it depends on the context of how it's used in the Bible. But I think I don't. I think in some ways that debate really makes no sense when you think of it biblically, because in the Bible it's like you either trust God or you don't. And if you trust God, then you're gonna the trajectory of your behavior in life is gonna point in a certain direction. Um, and that direction is ever deeper into to clarify who God is. So I said in that video, as I said before, that trust is either you either trust God or you don't. And while I don't really disagree with that per se. I do think that it's a bit more nuanced, a bit more complicated. It's a bit, maybe complicated is not the right word, but there is more grace in that than that simple statement would make you believe. And the reason why I say that is because, as I've been thinking about it, I go back to one of my favorite passages in the Gospels, in the New Testament, in the book of Mark. There is a story, um, in chapter 9, and the context of it is that Jesus is just returning from the mountain of transfiguration with three of his disciples, which are Peter, James, and John. Kind of his inner circle, and on the Mount of Transfiguration, he kind of his true, maybe his glory was kind of revealed um, to his disciples, to these disciples. And then after that, they're on the way down from the mountain, and um, I just wanted to read kind of like the whole passage to give a whole context, and then I'll touch on um, what I think is going to give nuance to that statement that I made about trust. So as I read it, the story in particular is found in Mark chapter 9, starting in verse 14. It says, "When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them and some scribes arguing with them. When the whole crowd saw him, they were immediately overcome with awe, and they ran toward to greet him. He asked them, 'What are you arguing about with them?' Someone from the crowd answered him, 'Teacher, I brought you my son. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak, and whenever it seizes him, it dashes him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. And I asked your disciples to cast it out, but they could not do so.' He answered them, 'You faithless generation, how much longer must I be with you? How much longer must I put up with you? Bring him to me.' And they brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the father, 'How long has this been happening to him?' And he said, 'From childhood. It has often, it has often cast him into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you are able to do anything, help us. Have compassion on us.' Jesus said to him, 'If you are able, all things can be done for the one who believes.' Immediately the father of the child cried out, 'I believe. Help my unbelief.' When Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, 'You spirit that keeps this boy from speaking and hearing, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again.' After crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, 'He is dead.' But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he was able to stand. When he had entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could we not cast it out?' He said to them, 'This kind can come out only through prayer.'" There's a lot in this passage that we could dive into. It's a very dense and deep passage, um, especially the part where Jesus gets frustrated. I've always been kind of like confused by that. Who is he frustrated at? His disciples? Is it the crowds? Is it everyone? Um, but that's a question for another day. What I really want to hone on is this interaction that he has with the boy's father. Um, Basically, he tells the father like anything is possible for he that believes. The word believe is again that Greek word, the same Greek word for faith, pisteo, to believe, to trust. He who trusts. And the father says something incredibly interesting. At least to me, it's something very profound. He says, "I believe. Help my unbelief." Or, "I trust. Help my lack of trust." And Jesus responds to this. Jesus, um, he frees, he heals, he liberates the young boy. And so, as I said in my previous video, I say you either trust or you don't trust. And yet, this kind of serves as a correction to what I said. It kind of corrects me. The word is correcting me. Because, in a sense, there's almost a paradox. A paradox is two seemingly contradictory things that kind of hold together. And Jesus is saying to this man says, like, "I believe, but I don't believe. I trust, but I don't trust." And I don't know about you, but that is, even though it may seem contradictory, it's something that is very relatable. It reminds me of Jesus's words that even if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, and also the end of Matthew, at the very, very end, in chapter 28 of Matthew, when Jesus is in Gethsemane and he has appeared to his disciples and he's given them the Great Commission. And it says when he appeared that, that they all worshiped, but some doubted. And so we see that in our experience as believers and our experience as Christians and our experience as children of God, we have, at least on this side of heaven, we have this reality, these two realities that live side by side within us, of faith and doubt. Now, to me, that's a great comfort that Jesus Jesus is gracious enough and loving enough, compassionate enough, even in his frustration with us, to take into account that faith, no matter how minute and small it is, and do something with it. And I think it's because relationships are dynamic things. Relationships are constantly, at least healthy relationships, are constantly growing. They're constantly changing and evolving and expanding and deepening. A relationship is a complicated, dynamic thing, just like any living thing. Anything, it thrives, it grows, it it starts off small and it grows just like a mustard seed, just like any seed. Um, this is deeply encouraging. And I think that we in the church and as Christians sometimes tend to view these types of things either as, either or black or white. Either you have faith or you don't have faith. Um, either you trust Jesus or you don't trust Jesus. Either you're faithful or you're not faithful. Either you love him or you don't. And the reality is that, like any relationship, it's complicated. It is complicated. But Jesus affirms, the word affirms here in this man and this father's plea to Jesus, and in Jesus's response and action of answering his prayer. It shows that Jesus looks to the heart of the matter and he sees the faith, no matter how small, how tiny it may be, and he smiles upon it and he answers it. So, yeah, either you trust him or you don't. And I think my correction to myself is, I guess you can trust him and not trust him at the same time. And it sounds paradoxical, it sounds contradictory, but be honest with me. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with God. Like, you can relate to that. You know exactly what that means. Because you and I, we all as believers struggle with that every single day that we walk this life with God. We believe, and yet we struggle to believe. We trust him, yet we question him. I know I do. I know in this season in my life, as I am wrestling with trusting God, that he has my best interest in mind, that he is good, that he does know the best for me even when I don't understand. There's still this voice inside me, there's still this part inside me that wonders, what if it all falls apart? Anyway, I'm just thinking aloud. Thanks for watching the video, and you guys have a